For what reason? Because monks, that wise, competent and skillful monk picks up the sign of his own mind. So here the Buddha is saying, when we practice the 4 Satipatthana, in other words, when we meditate, we must see what conditions our mind likes. For example, if you practice meditation, the mind is not suited to, you cannot concentrate the mind. If you cannot concentrate the mind, the Buddha says, you are not practicing Sati Sampajanya. You think you are practicing Sati Sampajanya, but you are not practicing. But if you attain concentration and you the 5 hindrances are abandoned, then you are practicing Sati Sampajanya. This gain pleasant dwellings normally is used to refer to the first 3 jhanas. When you train the jhanas, you gain pleasant dwellings, pleasant abidings in this life. So this is also saying if you practice Satipatthana in the right way, the skillful way, you should attain concentration. I have no time to talk more on this. So now the difference between Sati and Satipatthana. Sati is quite different in my opinion, different from Satipatthana. Sati is something you practice in everyday life because you need that to practice right effort, to get rid of unwholesome states and cultivate wholesome states. You need to cultivate contemplation of the 4 Sati, objects of Sati. You have to be knowledgeable of the Dhamma, and then you have to contemplate your mind and feelings, and then contemplate the nature of your body to cut your ego. So that is something you practice every day. But Satipatthana is intense state of Sati. Intense state of Sati. To show this, there is a Satipatthana Sutta. This is Samyutta Nikaya 47.20, where the Buddha gave the simile of the most beautiful girl of the land. The Buddha said one day the most beautiful girl of the country came out, and when people saw, people clapped their hands and shouted, the most beautiful girl in the land. And then asked her to sing and dance. And then when she sang and danced, more people came out and clapped their hands. Then a man who came along was caught, and he was asked to carry a bowl of oil filled to the brim. And he was told, you walk in the middle of the crowd, and there's a man behind you following you with a long sword. If you spill even a drop of the oil, your head will be cut off. So the Buddha said, this man is forced to carry the bowl of oil in between the crowd of people shouting and clapping. And does he dare to look left and look right? Doesn't dare. Doesn't dare to look at the beautiful girl. He only looks at the oil. So the Buddha gave this simile to make us understand that the Buddha said, I have made up this simile, monks, in order to convey a meaning. The bowl of oil filled to the brim. This is a designation for mindfulness directed to the body. So when you practice Satipatthana, it's like this guy who has to pay full attention, unremitting mindfulness. Now, in the Majjhima Nikaya 118, Anapanasati Sutta, this is shown. The Buddha said, monks, when mindfulness of breathing, Anapanasati, is developed and cultivated, is of great fruit and great benefit. When mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it fulfills the 4 Satipatthana. When the 4 Satipatthana are developed and cultivated, they fulfill the 7 enlightenment factors, Bojjhangas. When the 7 enlightenment factors are developed and cultivated, they fulfill true knowledge and liberation. And the Buddha said, how is mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated, how do they fulfill the 4 Satipatthana? Then the Buddha said, I say that this is a certain body among the bodies, namely in-breathing and out-breathing. So when you're practicing anapanasati, you're putting attention on your breath. The Buddha says you are practicing the four satipatthana. Firstly, breathing is considered a body. But the other reason I like to mention is that when you practice anapanasati, you're supposed to be mindful of your body also, not just the breath. You have to be mindful of the body. This is shown in another sutta in Digha Nikaya. Then the Buddha said, I say that this is a certain feeling among feelings, namely giving close attention to in-breathing and out-breathing. Why does the Buddha say this? Because when you are practicing anapanasati, as you progress, you find your feelings change. For example, when you attain the first jhana, delight arises and bliss arises. That is feeling. Then you attain the second jhana, you find the feelings change again. The third jhana, feelings change again. So you're mindful of feelings. So it doesn't mean you're mindful of the breath, you're not mindful of other things. This may be a bit different from the Visuddhi Magga jhana. I see that there is no development of mindfulness of breathing for one who is forgetful, who is not fully aware. That is why on that occasion the monk contemplates mind in mind, fully aware and recollected. So when you're practicing anapanasati, you're also, on top of observing your breath, you're also automatically observing your mind, how your perceptions change and all that. So you're contemplating mind in mind. Monks, on whatever occasion a monk trains thus, I shall breathe in contemplating impermanence, I shall breathe in contemplating fading away, cessation, relinquishment. On that occasion a monk abides contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma, fully aware and recollected. So when you are concentrated on the mind and you can see impermanence because feelings keep changing. The mind keeps changing. Fading away, for example, after you get piti and then you attain a higher jhana, the piti fades away. You can see cessation of certain feelings, relinquishment, you let go. So even in the state of jhana, you can see these things. But of course, when you come out also, you can contemplate Dhamma. So when you're practicing anapanasati, you're practicing the four satipatthana. So don't say that samatha practice is not satipatthana practice. And how monks do this four satipatthana, develop and cultivate it, fulfill the seven bojjhanga. Monks, on whatever occasion a monk abides contemplating the body in the body, ardent, mindful and recollected, on that occasion unremitting mindfulness is established in him. On whatever occasion unremitting mindfulness is established in a monk, on that occasion the mindfulness enlightenment factor, sati, is aroused in him, he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. So you see here, it's a bit different when he is practicing anapanasati. The mindfulness is unremitting mindfulness. This is practicing the satipatthana, mindfulness satipatthana. Unremitting mindfulness means the mindfulness does not run away even for a second. It does not stop even for a second, and it's always on one object. One object. When you practice satipatthana, you practice mindfulness on one object. But just now we said, when you are mindful of one object, your breathing, you are also mindful of feelings, mind and Dhamma at the same time. So this is the difference between just now that sati we heard, recollecting the Dhamma, and here satipatthana is unremitting mindfulness. Now we come to Anguttara, in the Samyutta Nikaya 35.247, the Buddha gave a simile of 6 animals. The Buddha said a hunter caught 6 animals, a snake, crocodile, a bird, a dog, a jackal and monkey, and then he tied a rope around the neck of these 6 animals and he released them. They take off in different directions. The snake wants to go into a hole to hide. The crocodile wants to go into the river. The bird wants to fly into the air. The dog wants to go into town to look for food. The jackal wants to go up the hill. The monkey wants to climb up the tree. So these six ropes, after the Buddha, the hunter has tied them together and released the animals. The animals go off in 6 different directions. But whichever is strongest, he will pull, and the others have to follow him. And when he's tired, another will pull, the others have to follow him. The Buddha said, this is a simile for the unrestrained mind, the everyday mind. Our everyday mind is pulled by the 6 objects of our senses. Forms want us to see, sounds want us to hear, smell wants us to smell, etc. So our attention is always going out to the 6 sense objects. Whichever one is strongest will pull our attention. Later another one will pull our attention. The Buddha said this is the unrestrained mind. This can be said to be momentary concentration, changing object one after the other. Then the Buddha said to restrain the animals, these 6 ropes, you must tie to a strong pole. When you tie to a strong pole, whichever direction the animals go, they can only go round and round that pole, until they are tired. And then they will quietly lie down beside the pole. So the Buddha said, similarly, if we want to get a hold of our mind, want to restrain our mind, we have to tie it to one object of meditation, one object of attention. For example, anapanasati, we just be aware of breathing. Every time it runs away, we pull it back. Runs away, we pull it back. Slowly, we learn to get a hold of our mind. That is the way to restrain the mind. And then, Anguttara Nikaya 5.26, the 5 occasions for liberation when a person attains arahanthood is listening to the listening to the Dhamma, then teaching the Dhamma, repeating the Dhamma, reflecting on the Dhamma, and during meditation, samadhi. So you find the first 4 has to do with Dhamma, listening, teaching, repeating, and reflection on the Dhamma. So only the 5th is during meditation. Knowing the Dhamma is very important. You find in the Vinaya books, the first 1,000 over Arahants which are mentioned, how they attain enlightenment, all of them was by listening to the Sutta. Because the Buddha, when he wanted to gather disciples, he looked for those who had attained the 4 jhanas. And then he went to them and taught them the Dhamma. And listening to the Dhamma, they attain arahanthood. So listening to the Dhamma is actually, I mentioned the other day, vipassana. When you listen to the Dhamma with a concentrated mind, that concentrated mind is a samatha part. And when you listen and you are contemplating the Dhamma that you are listening, that is the vipassana part, contemplation. With these 2 things, you can understand. So they attain arahanthood. So it must be, there is one sutta where the Buddha said, vows and prayers cannot get us what we want. And the Buddha gave us a simile. The Buddha said, suppose a man wanted oil, he took sesame seed and he ground it and he got oil. But somebody else was looking from far, he tried to get oil. What did he do? He took sand. He thought the sesame seeds being so small, it's like sand. So he took the sand and he ground it. He cannot get oil, isn't it? Whether he prays also, he cannot get oil. He make a vow also cannot get oil, because he's doing the wrong thing. So the Buddha said, similarly, a person who wants to get butter, he takes milk, he churns the milk. After some time, that milk turns to butter. But somebody else wants to get butter, he took water and keep churning the water. Even he prayed to Kuan Yin, so he cannot get. Make a vow to Amitabha, also cannot get. So it is the right thing we have to do. So if we want to attain these attainments that the Buddha said are important, we have to follow very closely exactly the Buddha's instructions in the suttas. If you deviate from it even a little bit, you will not get. Just like you want to reach the moon, you shoot your rocket. If you deviate by half a degree or so, you won't reach the moon. Yeah. So it's very important to know the suttas very well. And I mentioned the other day that samsara is very fearful because of the three woeful planes. So we want to get at least the first path and the first fruit, which is not difficult compared to the higher stages. And I said that it is important to listen to the Dhamma. So now I will recap basically what I said. It's a bit long talk. I have to beg your indulgence. In the Velama Sutta, I mentioned Anguttara Nikaya 9.20 that Velama, the Brahmin said, long ago, there was our Buddha long ago. He said he did a lot of dana, but the blessings, the good karma was very little because there was no Arya. And the Buddha said, if he had given to just one person with right view, that blessing, that merit would have been much more. In other words, a person with right view is an Arya, first path attainer and first fruit attainer. Then, as I mentioned, that the Majjhima Nikaya 117 said that if we want to practice the Aryan Eightfold Path, we must start with right view. And right view will bring you to right thoughts and bring you to right speech, etc. in that sequence. And then I mentioned that to attain the first path, we need the 4 Sutta Patti Yangani, the 4 factors for stream entry. And these 4 factors of stream entry, if you don't practice them, the Buddha said in one sutta that you are not the Buddha's follower. You are external sect follower. The Buddha said you are Bahiro, external sect follower. You are not his disciple. So in other words, if you consider yourself a Buddhist, you must have these 4 factors for stream entry. Associating with true men, hearing the true Dhamma, focus attention when you listen to the true Dhamma, and practice of the Dhamma in accordance with the Dhamma. You practice these 4 things, and then you will get stream entry. Then after you attain stream entry, you continue to practice these 4 things, it will turn to fruit. Then after you have attained Sotapanna, then you can consider getting the higher fruit paths and fruits. And for that you need the jhanas. The higher jhana you attain, the higher state, Aryahood, you attain. But that is difficult. So for most people, I would encourage you to keep listening to the suttas every day. We should listen to the suttas until we pass away every day. Because there is nothing more valuable than the suttas. Only the suttas can bring us out of this long round of samsara. If we don't listen to the suttas, we have wasted our Buddha's effort to teach. I mentioned last Saturday that our Buddha is the most perfect Buddha. As Venerable Sariputta, the Arahant, said, you cannot find another Buddha more perfect than our Buddha, because our Buddha said that his teachings are perfect and complete. In other words, you cannot find a Dhamma teaching more perfect and complete than our Buddha Gautama. So even when we compare our Buddha with the past, all the past Buddhas and all the future Buddhas, they cannot be more perfect than our Buddha. Their teaching cannot be more perfect than our Buddha Gautama, because our Buddha Gautama's teachings are perfect and complete. At the most, they can only equal our Buddha Gautama. So we have to understand that and value that, because the Buddha said when he contemplated 91 world cycles, he only found 6 Buddhas willing to teach the Dhamma. So we have to wait many world cycles before we meet a Buddha willing to teach the Buddha. And we teach the Dhamma. So now that we have the Dhamma with us, don't waste this opportunity. Because most people, after they pass away, will go into the woeful planes, will go into the ghost realm mostly. You don't have to do evil. Just be an ordinary person and you will go into the ghost realm. Because as a human being, we enjoy life. Right now you are in an aircon room, listening to the Dhamma in comfort. So we use our blessings. We have to be very careful. Don't enjoy too much. The more you enjoy, the faster you use out the blessings. Okay, now we invite questions.
All right, brothers and sisters, any questions you may have? Or any parts of the unique clarification, please feel free to ask. Oh, sure.
Venerable Sir, I just want to find out two things. The first one is the real Bodhisattva path. I just missed that part. What is the real Bodhisattva path? What must he do?
The real Bodhisattva path is the path the Buddha took to become enlightened. Okay? So in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 27, the Buddha said he walked 7 steps to enlightenment. The first step is the first jhana. Second step is the second jhana. Third step is the third jhana. Fourth step is the fourth jhana. Fifth step is recollecting his past lives. That was important because he had forgotten the Dhamma he learned from the past. When he recollected the past lives, then he recalled that long ago he was a monk disciple of the Buddha Kassapa. And all the Dhamma that he learned came back to him. Without knowledge of the Dhamma, he could not become enlightened. So that was the fifth. And then the sixth, he used the heavenly eye to see beings dying and getting rebirth according to karma. So he understood the working of karma. Then the seventh, he contemplated the Four Noble Truths. After recalling the Four Noble Truths, he contemplated the Four Noble Truths, and because of his fourth jhana, his mind was so clear, he understood so well that he attained enlightenment. This fourth jhana, the mind is so focused, extremely focused, like a laser beam. A laser beam can cut through rocks and all that, yeah. So the fourth jhana, the mind is so focused, it can cut through the huge mass of ignorance. Penetrate the huge mass of ignorance, the solid mass of ignorance, and see clearly. So these are the 7 steps. This is the Bodhisattva path.
And then the other question is, you say if someone were to obtain all the jhanas, and then the body emits light, and you also say that Mara is not happy. Will Mara absorb all the energies and essence of that person?
No. He is beyond the reach of Mara. He is in another realm from Mara. Mara cannot touch him. Mara cannot see him, but can see the light. But only when he comes out of the jhana, then Mara wants to disturb him. When he is in that state of jhana, Mara cannot do anything.
I don't know where I heard that there's people like us, sometimes we come across something like this where your essence and your energy being absorbed by something, I do not know what is the thing. Is it true?
In that condition, your mind must be very scattered. People whose minds are very scattered, they get Kong Tao, black magic. If your mind is very concentrated, nobody can do black magic on you.
Only black magic if you will find your energy and essence. No other ways.
Practice concentration. But if you attain the first Arya path, or the Sotapanna. I think these beings cannot disturb you. You're an Arya.
Yep. All right. Any other questions or queries? And sorry, you still got some. Yeah.
I want to clarify one thing. They say that while you're doing meditation, and then you're not pure in thoughts or whatever, can this happen? Your energy and your essence be absorbed?
Don't discuss it. It's not important. You just practice the Dhamma like the Buddha taught, and you are safe from everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. I must say this evening's Dhamma talk is fairly technical, but I believe it's really good if you could understand it and really apply it. But if you don't mind, Venerable Sir, I just want to ask you about the quite some time ago. I think I attended your the other last Saturday in this session about these realms of existence. Generally, it's classified into three. One is the world of sensory perception, where it's about 10 or 11 realms, and these are the beings with a male, female. They are enticed with sensual perception. Of that 11 realm, that is one realm that's a bit questionable. It's the Asura realm. Because I remember reading these 31 planes of existence, it clearly states that in the 11 lower realms, the 5th realm is the human realm. And the 6th to 11 are the devas, the lower devas. And anything below that, there are 4. Asuras, the ghosts, the animals, and the hell realm. Perhaps from that perspective, and I also remember listening to one of your tapes, and you did mention that the Asuras in some of the suttas by the Buddha, he said that the lower Asuras are like Kalakanjas, I believe, and they are already devas. So by inference, the Asuras are actually devas. Perhaps you could clarify a little bit on that?
Yes. In the suttas, you find whenever the Buddha talked about the woeful planes, he mentioned 3 woeful planes: the ghost realm, animal, and hell realm. Only 3. But later books like the Abhidhamma and Mahayana books, they added the Asuras. The problem is, as the Buddha mentioned in the Digha Nikaya 29, those monks who write later books, they don't see the Dhamma. They're not familiar with the suttas. So in the Digha Nikaya, there are 2 suttas. In one sutta, the Buddha, one day, thousands of devas came to visit him, and the Buddha told his disciples, you look, those disciples must have psychic powers. The Buddha said, you look, the devas from 10,000 world systems have come to pay respect to the Tathagata. Then the Buddha mentioned the different types of devas. And then he mentioned the Kalakanja Asuras. That means Kalakanja Asuras are devas. And then in another sutta, it is said that the lowest type of Asuras are called Kalakanja Asuras. So that proves that all Asuras are devas. And in another sutta, it is mentioned that Asuras are in the heaven of the 33. And once in a heavenly year, they will rise up and fight with Sakadeva Raja. So later books, they thought Asuras are fierce beings, and they like to fight, and they like to drink liquor and all that. So they thought these Asuras must be suffering. So they created ghost Asuras, and they say beings in hell, some of them are Asuras. No, not in the suttas.
Bante, what about Yakas? Yakas belong to which realm?
Yakas should be under the lowest heaven, the heaven of the 4 great kings. I'm not sure whether they are also in the heaven of the 33.
Okay, just to add to that, we Chinese, we believe in a lot of fables, like the story about the monk Sun Zhang. He went to the journey of the west, and he's got 3 disciples. One of them is the Monkey King, and the other one is a human with a piglet head, and one is a sand monk. So how do we classify these 3 disciples? Would it be right to say that they're devas or they're asuras?